Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of March 9th.
You know, I'm glad that just to interrupt this real quick, I want to get ahead of the rest of this. I'm glad that in most of our social media and stuff, we're not using the number 4. I know we had to for, I think, Twitter, right?
Aren't we? Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Something
we did. Number 4.
Yeah. Because it makes it sound like you got to watch 4 movies. You can continue now.
I'm number 1. It does. This is pre-intro, by the way, so you don't exist yet.
Look, let's just ignore this. Just continue with the intro.
I'm Ryan Miller, and that was Matt Amberg.
I thought you were going to give me a nickname and be like, that, everybody, was the travesty. Matt.
And you're gone again.
Yeah, I keep getting disconnected. I don't know why.
Man, the best thing about you disconnecting is that you always come back.
It's debatable for, I think, a great many folk.
To Book Club for Movies, where we watch one movie a week.
Not
and
4.
We invite you to do the same. Not 4. Yes, to bring that back. Call back to a non-joke.
Are there any jokes on this show outside of the hosts?
And this week, we're doing that for following. Matt, you've already told me that you have not done a synopsis for this. So please,
I have not.
If you could do a synopsis off the top of your head.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask. I did. I knew you were going to ask. Okay, here's my pepperoni.
It can't be that bad.
Here's the pepperoni part I have.
Or could it be bad? I would enjoy it if it was bad.
Following is going to come at you at a nice 69 minutes, written and directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Jeremy Theobald, Alex Haw, Lucy Russell, John Nolan. Here is your off the top of my head, this ain't gonna go so hot synopsis for Christopher Nolan's nice 69-minute long film, Following. An uninspired writer begins following people around the streets of London in hopes of finding a break into his new story. When he comes across a man named Cobb, who's a burglar a lot, serial even. He meets him and they follow each other around, and then there's Following.
I cannot wait to find out how that turned out, because you cut out at the very beginning and came in with perfect comedic timing at the very end to hear you say following in a strange manner. So I'm glad to have you back again. Well, what a roller coaster.
Emotional and otherwise.
But I'm also excited to hear what you thought about this movie, because you've seen it before.
I had, yeah. A long time ago.
Did you rewatch it? Just curious.
Yes, I did. I did rewatch it.
I'm waiting for the day that we do a show where neither of us has rewatched the movie. We just try to make it where it's not going to work.
Yeah, see, it's the game where we try to figure out, did you watch it? Did the other person watch it?
Yeah,
I don't know how many shows you've figured out that I haven't watched the movie yet.
Wait, have you done that before?
What?
Have you done an entire show not having rewatched the movie recently, just having seen it before and...
Once.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let's see if I can figure out what movie it was.
I'd have to look back too, because there have been a few. You
don't know which one?
Because there have been a few where I came in real hot and I finished it right at the end. Like I got through it.
Hey, understandable. And honestly, this week, considering you asked me what movie are we doing again, like 2 hours ago?
No, I couldn't remember what it was because I watched it last week. But I watched like 4 different movies, and then I watched a whole mess of TV over the weekend. So I'm like,
and that was my fault. I got called in on the Monday I get to work from home, so I couldn't record, and we didn't have time to do it throughout the rest of the week. So my fault.
Yeah, no, it is.
Luckily, I didn't watch it till several hours ago. So,
oh, good, it's fresh.
At least one of us here is less prepared than the other.
Definitely me.
Truthfully, though, I had some extra time. I don't know if it's because we don't do the other show nowadays, to actually dig like I always want to and never quite get to. So I have been through the Wikipedia, the IMDb, and I was actually going to start looking up articles when I got sidetracked. So not that deep, but maybe deeper than usual on this. Do we mention the movie, actually?
Yeah, Following. Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
I did the whole synopsis thing that you didn't hear. And
That's right. I suppose we mentioned the movie before you did the synopsis. So, Following, you have seen it before, who knows however long ago. I had never seen it, made my list over the years, of course, and just had never, ever seen it. I knew it was his first feature-length outing. So, let's go down the Christopher Nolan checklist here. We've seen all the Batmans. We know that. I know I saw Insomnia a long time ago. Don't know if I remember much of it. Memento I've seen numerous times. Dunkirk I've seen. You have not, if I remember correctly.
You are correctly remembering that.
In fact, did we... I talked about that on an after the show thing, but we didn't do a show on it or anything. No, okay.
You also forgot to mention Inception.
Inception, right. Both of us have seen that. Interstellar, both of us have seen. So we've seen a good majority of his films.
Yeah. Not on purpose necessarily either, honestly.
You're not a big fan of one of his favorite people.
I dislike Leonardo DiCaprio.
And we might come back to that by the end of the show, actually.
Oh, no, we're definitely going to come back to it real fast.
Well, it does. Okay.
There's
All
a
right.
direct connection between this movie and Inception.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're related. You know it is.
They're related. And that actually kind of charts my trip with this movie, is that super early on, I was like, oh, this is proto-Inception. It feels like more than anything else.
For sure.
One of the characters shares a name with Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Cobb, the salad.
Yep. Bacon avocado, baby!
But honestly, that's technically the only connection.
Yes.
You know, it's not like we're shared universe here or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's
could
just
be.
that.
Who knows?
Okay, well, it's true. I would be interested in the movie that connects all of the Christopher Nolan movies, including the Batmans, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, I obviously, though, the Batman movies are them watching them on TV.
That's all it would be. That's how they would be shared universes.
Yeah.
That just one of the characters from the other movies would be watching them on TV somewhere.
Yeah. But then the rest of his movies that are more like grounded, definitely.
See, I would want the other. I would want like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne watching Inception somewhere.
Minds are getting blown right now.
I'm confused.
I don't know. What are we doing right now? What is happening?
So, Following.
What? Following what?
At the beginning, I was like, oh, this is super proto Inception. But then as it went on, okay, here's the conclusion I think I came to with that. And we are going to spoil this movie. I don't think we're necessarily going to spoil it right now, but we will.
Just get used to
the
it.
Drop of a hat. Yeah, it just happens. I want to get in the habit of mentioning that more because we don't. So eventually, by the end of this thing, I think I was more keen in on themes than I was movies necessarily, because every Christopher Nolan film has related themes. And yes, the Batmans fit into this, but obviously those are licensed properties that we can have that discussion, but I feel like that's almost a separate show. More of his original properties, you know, written and directed, the Inceptions, the Interstellars to a lesser degree, Memento, stuff like that, share common themes. Mm-hmm. And from the very beginning, apparently, with this movie, with Following, we've got kind of a willingness to mess with time, or the portrayal of time. Here it's a little more straightforward and definitely not as foregrounded as Memento or something like Memento. Sidebar. Have you started the new season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine yet?
No.
Might I recommend the episode titled Pimento?
There. Okay, perfect.
Might I recommend that to everybody?
Yeah.
In fact.
200% Zooks.
Okay, now back to the movie. And I feel like his willingness to mess with time also goes part and parcel with this real, this is going to sound weird because every movie has this, but this kind of real purposeful construction. It's not that they lay out the rules. Okay. They specifically do that with Inception. Okay. What am I going for here? There is a very...
It's intuitive. I think his rules are a little more intuitive than some others. And when something new happens, it doesn't happen. It doesn't feel like it's outside of those bounds.
Yes. So there are maybe two sets of rules that we're dealing with here. There are the ones that are expressly stated within the film, and with movies like Inception, you need that. To make that movie without those things would be frustrating, probably.
At the very least.
And I think as we make our way through the show, we'll kind of tease this stuff out. I more just wanted to get the themes out in front. I think the third one that probably encompasses them all is this. It's not a gimmick. Like, I feel like I can't use that word for any movie without it seeming dismissive, but it's a premise of sorts, one that often appears or is alluded to in the title of the film itself. Memento, Inception, Interstellar, etc., all the way back to Following, right? And with this movie, it's this idea that this guy, our main character for all intents and purposes, has taken to following people. And really that's it. But like, there's no end to it, right? He's not doing it to steal from them. He's not doing it. In fact, I'm just mirroring some of the dialogue at this point, because this is how he starts, is that at the beginning it was just this, and he had certain rules himself. Again, speaking of rules here, where he didn't follow the same person twice. If he found out where they worked or where they lived, he would end the pursuit, I think is what it was, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm off base on anything so far. I feel like I've been talking both of us into a hole at this point. Where do you land on any of this?
No, I think you're on the right track. I also think that one of the things that's touched on for this is the whole premise of him being a writer. It takes backseat to like this whole thing. Like, it's something that it's given, but it's just not like, that's not the thrust of the character.
I did feel like that should mean more, especially, I mean, usually when a writer is written into something, especially a film, it means something a little bit more. And I don't know that was ever, maybe not meant to, but I kept waiting for that to mean more, and I never really got that sense.
Right. But I think that in terms of knowing that, and maybe this is why it's not so brought up, I kind of identify with that. He's chasing something. He needs inspiration, and it's just nothing. I've been here, I've been there, I'm still there in many respects. You just bash your head up against the wall for any kind of inspiration. And the concept of following people and trying to figure out a story, and it's a lot easier to make somebody's story up. I mean, I do it with my wife all the time. We'll sit around and we'll just pick a random person out and we'll just start making up a story about them, and I think it speaks a little bit to an obsessiveness and a compulsion to find something and force yourself to find something in an obsessive way. I don't know. It's probably
no. Okay, this is actually working. So, because he is a struggling writer, we should say, maybe he's not like a successful or accomplished one in any sense.
And he's uninspired. He doesn't know what he wants to write.
He's uninspired also, and maybe I'm moving too quick for this thing, but he's also uninhabited. Like, what eventually ends up happening is that he chooses to follow a guy that is a thief. He has been going into apartments or whatever, taking things, yes, but as we soon see, he follows him to a couple jobs. It's more about, it gets pretty highfalutin, I guess is what I should say.
Sure.
There's lots of writerly lines in there about taking what they have or taking it so they know what they have or something like that, because they know like when it's gone. A couple things emerge from this conversation or conversations like it. Number one, everybody has a box. This idea, and this is how the movie begins actually, with close-ups on the character going through one of these boxes that he's stolen that we'll come back to. But everybody has a box, this idea that a box of totems, if you will. Another theme maybe.
Yeah. I wonder if any of them had a top.
I didn't see any. I did look.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised, but no, not so far. This idea that people are made up of these things, though, and he again references books. He'll go through the apartment and be like, "You can tell a lot about somebody by the things that they have." Thanks. And it talks about, look these books, this person, and they start to drink somebody's bottle of wine and stuff like that. And initially, this serves as a way, both of kind of telling us what the movie's really about, but also in training the main character. Or inhabiting the main character. When I say he's uninhabited, like he is struggling and unaccomplished in a way that, and I looked for this word, but couldn't find it in the script, but he's kind of a cipher, right?
Sure.
I could have sworn, and maybe this is just one of those things where you're getting it so much you think you hear the word. I could have sworn there was a conversation about him being a cipher, or the thief's name is Cobb?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember. I know the thief gives himself two names, so I get confused.
Yeah.
He says his name is Bill at first or
Cobb,
something.
Yeah, Cobb is the other name.
Okay. Cobb, I could have sworn called the other character a cipher at some point, but I went and actually found the screenplay and I searched and I couldn't find it. So whatever. I got it into my head at some point in any event, because he is really, like, he doesn't exist essentially in any real way, both in the movie but also as a character or as a person or as a thing, until he starts not only getting this training from the thief but getting these things from these jobs. Like, slowly he adopts the thief's activities and takes things himself. At one point, and now moving really quickly, the thief tells him to get a new look, so he does that. He cuts his hair.
You're actually this actually kind of tracks for a little bit. So one of the things that I kind of pull out of him in particular, following the thief, and because you mentioned that he's uninhabited, that to me, that there's that I think that's the right word. I think that's a great word for it, because he totally, and you called them totems, and that's exactly what they are. They're totems for other people. And for him, he sees them as a totem also, but he doesn't know what it represents, but now it's his. So now it represents something to him. Like, he's filling up. It's like he's just that big empty block, and then he's trying to fill in the little, here's a circle goes into the square.
He's going through them like they mean something to him. Like, they're giving him an identity in the moment, which I guess in the film and within the rules of the film they are.
That's it. Yes, that's exactly what I was just trying to say, but you said it more eloquently and quicker.
No, you're right. I agree with you.
So you know what? I'm done with this show. You got it. Hello, I'm Captain Redundancy of the Redundancy Department.
No, but... Okay, so I mentioned how he gets the haircut. I think that's important because it reminds me something that I kind of glossed over when we were talking about themes, is that he's still playing with time with this movie. There are minimum 3 different periods that we're looking at from the beginning. The movie starts with him speaking with, and I guess this is where the narration of the film comes from throughout, speaking with a detective, right? Like, telling him this story of what happened to him. That's 1.
Yep.
2, we get the beginning of his confrontation with the thief, follows him. The thief realizes he's being followed. They have a meeting in a whatever, like that, kind of the beginning, more or less. Then there's another time period where, and this one gets kind of muddier, probably with good reason. Otherwise, we'd know the end of the film way too soon. Where he has the haircut, so he's been through the kind of visual transformation, and sometimes he has bruises, sometimes he doesn't. Right? Very early on, we see him doubled up on the floor as he spits a glove or 2 gloves out of his mouth, which as we cut back to the beginning timeline, we see the thief put on very quickly. So some really masterful clues given at just the right moments and for just the right amount of time that tell us something's going to happen, right? That we don't know what, that's big, that's important.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's one of probably the most enjoyable things of this film, is that it's done in a way that you will see honed to a point in Memento, right?
Yeah.
Where there's this central event that is told to us by way of negative space almost, right? Like, everything chronologically points to this thing in the center, both the stuff that comes after and before. And here it's no different, right? This is done maybe not as masterfully as Memento, where it's, again, foregrounded, but still just really compellingly in a way that you're like, okay, what? And you're trying to put it together as you watch it, and you're trying to rearrange the occurrences, and then it works into a rhythm where you're kind of almost seeing it before it happens, or again, seeing something that's there by lack of it being there.
Yeah. No. It's, and I think that you're right. I think you also, you once again, nails heads. You're just bashing things. You are building a bridge here, my friend.
I told you, this is the downside of us only doing this show now, is I might over prepare for every single film.
No, I love it. We got a chicken coop out back. Finish it up for us. It's actually pretty finished. Beth kind of finished it this week, actually. But you can totally see, like you mentioned, in his filmography, and I think actually, interestingly enough, if you go backwards, you see it, I think, even more dramatically than if you go forwards. But you can totally see this is the prototype for so many of those movies, so many of those ideas. And with Memento, I think this one is definitely the closest to it, in terms of that story and that kind of playing with time. And it just seems like this movie was very much so, like you said, he was honing that, like, he knew what he wanted to do and he was figuring out how to do it. And this was that, okay, I have a concept of how to film this and edit it and do this and this. Now I just need a really great actor. I wonder what Guy Pearce is doing.
Or what about Leonardo DiCaprio? It's almost like the other movies really just spun out of this one, right? This short, again, you said only 69 minutes. You could have said an hour and 9 minutes. You didn't. You said 69 minutes. Long movie that deals with all these things at once. And it's not complicated so much. Like, even though it is dealing with all of these things, I would say that it's layered. Yeah, I would still say that Memento is a much more complicated film, obviously.
Yes.
I think what it comes down to is that this becomes a movie that I could see at the beginning or end of Christopher Nolan's career equally, right?
Sure.
Sure. And I mean that as a compliment. Like, there are so many elements to this thing, which, yes, it seems like the other movies are spun out of, but also he seems to have such a unique and consistent vision or view or handle on these elements that I would not be like, this was his next movie. I would not be surprised. I might be surprised if it looks like it does now. Like this very obviously, in fact, I was looking up halfway through the movie, I have a note that just says, why is this movie in black and white? Because usually if it is, obviously there's a reason, and I love to kind of figure that out. And well, here it's because it was really cheap and he didn't have a DP, and yeah.
It was cheap, yeah. So, they had no lighting. They used natural lighting everywhere.
Right,
they filmed in really small spots so that they didn't have to have a ton of people. Maybe
a less exciting reason than usual, but still, it works either way. I mean, it is also, and I kept seeing this, a neo-noir, which I didn't clue into immediately. When I think of neo-noirs, I think of
Brick.
I think I'm still stuck too much on the classical definition of just a noir as is, all those Bogart things, all those.
You don't call Brick one? I thought we established this.
Yes. I mean, that's very obviously one. Yes.
Right, but you're saying there are none, and you're being pedantic about
No. I didn't mean to say that if I did. I definitely think there are some. I didn't clue into this as one.
Sure.
And I'm not sure why. I think it's an error in how I define them. But no, they definitely exist.
This obviously. One, if I was going to put it close to something, I mean, and there's not a lot of great ones, but I might dotted line this to Double Indemnity. There's some stuff in there that I could see being related. But it's got a noir feel to it, to a point. Sure, I'll give it.
It does share a lot of the hallmarks. Like once I actually look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously, and for that reason, the black and white works also. I guess is what I was getting at. But
fair.
Maybe we get to the ending of the thing now, and just kind of overall thoughts.
Hey, look, I think it's hammer time.
Oh, that there's a hammer involved.
It's
true. Actually, yeah, your GTA weapon of choice. No less.
It's my everything weapon of choice. I just think it's so mean and just painful, like conceptually across your body. Like I just take a minute and think about the sound and pain, cracking somebody's skull open would be with a hammer.
Which happens in this movie. And actually, I think the hammer was a really smart addition because it appears like that's an anachronism, I think, in this, because there are two hammers. One of them is used to smash the fingers of a guy defaulting on his loan. There's a heavy in the film that we never actually meet or get a line from, I don't think. Maybe one. But he's the ex, supposedly, of the femme fatale.
The blonde,
in this thing.
The blonde woman.
Yes.
I don't even think most of them don't have names.
They don't. Yeah, we're not just bad with characters this time around. It's just that Christopher Nolan is too.
This plays
So-
to our strengths, actually.
Yeah.
We got one guy named after a salad. Everybody else is the young guy, the blonde girl, the big
Less
fat guy.
character names, I say. Let's get over the old conventions of the past.
Hey, you.
Make our job easier.
That's right.
Or we just use the actor names like we do. Just use the names of the actors. They already have one.
That's true. And you may know it better than the fake one.
Which I recently realized upon watching The Good Place that Tahani, thank you, is Jamil in real life and in the show.
Yeah. Jamila.
Yeah. Also, yes, her
Jamil.
her first and last name are also strikingly similar.
Yeah.
It turns out.
She's adorable.
She's great. That show also. If you listen to any of our TV shows where Matt's mentioned it and I haven't watched it yet and I fell off after what ended up being the first episode, I was completely wrong and Matt was completely right.
And now he understands why Janet is the best thing ever on
She's
TV.
so good. Oh, man. And the new Comedy Bang Bang has Darcy Carden in it.
Yes,
And
yes,
it's,
it does.
Queued up. Did you listen to it
I
yet?
haven't yet. I'll be
okay,
doing
yeah.
it tonight when I make dinner.
Very looking forward to that.
She's great.
So, the following, or just following,
I thought you
out-
were going into an advert.
Squarespace. No, we don't get those yet.
Yet.
But we use Squarespace, so whatever.
Yeah,
That's
hey.
just our whole site is an ad.
Boom. Okay, following.
Following that remark, let's talk about following. Where were we?
The ending. We're quitting. The hammer.
Oh, the hammer. Yes. So that's an anachronism because he uses it first off to bust open that guy's fingers, but then it's also used later. I want to say he calls Cobb, and Cobb gives him the idea of a hammer because it's easy, portable, multi-purpose. And he takes it to a job with him, which is the last job he pulls. Okay, this is where it gets a little actually complicated. This is where the actual like noirs are supposed to be complicated. They're supposed to be labyrinthine, right? So he has come into contact with a woman who they previously robbed from and goes home with her, enters a relationship with her. Then they get in a fight, but upon making up, she kind of mentions that she's being blackmailed by the gangster. So he's like, "Oh, I'll get the pictures for you. You know, I can break into people's houses." So this becomes him breaking in for a reason other than he has been doing for the entire movie, right? This is the cipher that was in it to watch people, that found somebody that's, you know, he's kind of created his own persona from. And even as he gets to the job, it worsens in that the safe is full of money and it becomes about taking the money, which it has never been, he said numerous times. So breaking rules all over the place here. But he also gets the envelope that supposedly has the pictures in it, but ends up not having the pictures. But in that robbery, somebody walks in on him and he takes the hammer out and I guess ends up not murdering the guy, but he doesn't know that in the moment, right? He messes the dude up pretty well with the hammer and gets out of there, goes back to the girl, but not before he looks at the pictures and realizes that actually she was blackmailing the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and also turns out that she was in league with the thief,
Cobb.
but then also turns out the thief was playing her to play him. So from the very beginning, it turns out that the thief found this following guy, realized that it was somebody that he could imbue with all of his MO for robbing places. And he says it's because this is what he tells the girl, gets her on his side, that he's committed a murder and wants somebody that can get caught for doing something exactly like he did and not know anything about the murder and not be able to be tied to it so that everything will get dismissed or whatever it is.
Right.
It turns out that never happened. The guy was just working for the gangster, trying to get the pictures back from the girl. And in the end, the girl's murdered. The guy's in jail. Then we come back to him speaking with the policeman, and he's been had by the thief all along, who we see in the final shot, which mirrors the opening shot, where, and I think there is some line about once you get to know somebody, they cease being part of the crowd, but then we see him disappear into the crowd into the last shot. Yes, and maybe that's where I would say, like, overall, I loved it, honestly.
Sure.
I'm only going to say this bad thing because I should say a bad thing sometimes, I guess. If anything, it might get a little melodramatic, but it's a noir, especially retroactively realizing that, yes, it is, and I am wrong. it should get melodramatic, but overall, just tightly woven, tightly written. Again, very obvious that it's a Nolan film and done well from the start. Like, this dude is a good filmmaker. Hot take.
I think that he possibly could have a future. I like the movie. I think it's probably one of his best, actually. It's
really
because it's tight, it's quick, it knows what it's doing, and I think it's super effective. And I think it's effective in that respect because that story was really like very compelling, and not a lot of, this is a great movie because there's not a lot of fat to it. It was really a go, and I do think that as he's gotten more money and more ability to tell grander stories, I think he still falls into that trap of, I've become a bigger filmmaker. And I think that quite a few of his films probably could be trimmed by 30 to 70 minutes.
There is a really interesting article that I had hoped to find. It's the one I was going out for before I got sidetracked or whatever it was, that speaks to the tension that he has kind of as an ongoing indie filmmaker that makes multi-million-dollar movies. I'm not going to do it justice, and I can't find the reference, but there is a tension about him with his later films that are like, yeah, these are multi-million-dollar, again, we don't call them AAA movies, but Games Ruined Me, and yet still has all these sensibilities that he's brought with him. Like, it seems to me like it'd be a very interesting article.
That sounds fascinating. The thing I have with that is it's hard for me to, like, quote unquote feel bad for the guy.
No, I'm not doing that.
And I hate I admit, like, I don't like sometimes I hear these things like in the way you're, like, the way I'm hearing what I'm being told right now. Like, I still have these indie sensibilities, but I'm making them with superstars like Tom Hardy and Leonardo DiCaprio and Ellen Page. Okay. Well, I mean, that's cool. I don't know that I don't know that your indie sensibilities are so much there as it is. I had ideas when I was an indie guy, and now I can flesh them out and make them for $1 bajillion because I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel difficult if I hear him say anything about my indie sensibilities.
No, I don't think that's a direct quote. No, but
no. But I'm saying like around that concept and him, talking about how, like, hey, I can't do this, or I'm trying to do this. I just, every time I'm going to point to that freaking scene in Inception with the spinning room. Like, come on, man. Indie sensibilities, my B.
No. That was definitely an editorializing on. I don't think he was even. This was an article written about him.
Well,
I don't think
everybody involved is stupid.
I can just see it, right? I can see again following in Inception. I can see following in. I need to watch Interstellar again. Maybe.
Do you?
Even in the trailer for Tenet. Even in the trailer for that, right? It's obvious. Like, you tell me you wouldn't watch that trailer and be like, "Oh, it's the new Christopher Nolan movie."
No, I agree. I think Christopher Nolan is one of those directors who is similar to Michael Bay. It's a Michael Bay movie.
Okay.
You want somebody more positive?
No,
sure.
no. When we talk about indie sensibilities, you pick the right person. That's all I'm saying.
No. But he's got a style that you just. You can't really mistake for anybody else. There's always a handful of entertainers that are like that. Christopher Nolan's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're a person who's seen a Christopher Nolan film, 2 of them maybe. You could be shown any other movie he's ever touched, and within a few minutes you'll go, "Hey, this is that Batman guy." Anyways, Inception or Christopher Nolan, what are we on here?
It's funny, when I saw the movie again was 69 minutes, I thought, hey, we're going to talk about this thing for about the length of the film itself. So maybe just go watch the thing, I guess, would be my recommendation.
Wow.
It's worth it. I shouldn't have waited as long as I did. I would give it 30 stars.
Out of 31.
Nice. Did you see that coming? I almost forgot we did that. So I was
you know what? I thought you actually killed it, and I was just thinking you had it off the top of your head. So I love it.
So following. Hey, next week, it's all coming back. I mentioned this might happen. I'm going to do something unprecedented in a number of ways.
Uh-oh.
I myself might have a recommendation for next week.
What?
I don't know if I've ever done 2 movies in a row.
All right, well.
But I don't know how you're going to feel about this. And that's almost makes me want to recommend it even more. I think we might need to do a show on a movie I selfishly finished watching a couple days ago. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet?
No, but we can watch it. I have it. It's queued up.
I know. Again, the Leonardo DiCaprio bit was the other thing.
Yeah,
but
and I look, and I'm again and this is like a twofer for me too, because I'm super like middle of the road on Brad Pitt. He's fine. I like him way more than DiCaprio. I think he's a better actor than DiCaprio, but I am so just
No, yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
Like he's always Brad Pitt, and it's just like so often for me, I'm like, yeah, that's not interesting to me, and you're not really doing much for me.
I'm not on board. Like, he got the Oscar, right, for this thing?
Yeah.
No, I don't see that. Like,
that Oscar had to be, it's the Denzel Washington Oscar, the makeup for something he should have won
for
before.
everything, sure. I mean, we can have a discussion. Maybe I'll bring in Ad Astra if we do this show as well. But yeah, no, that's not why to see this thing. Like, I will be interested to hear your opinions on them, because I know you're not crazy about them, Leonardo DiCaprio in particular. Every other reason is why I would be not surprised at all if you loved this, like flat out loved this movie in spite of all of that. No,
look, that certainly could happen. I fully admit, like, again, super middle of the road on Pitt, but I just recently rewatched Inglourious Bastards, and I actually really love him in that. Like, that was great. Fantastic.
And you're
super fun.
Way up on, maybe not way up, but you like Tarantino for the reasons that a lot of people or I like Tarantino here and there, right?
Yeah. I do not suckle at the teat where I think every movie he's made is a masterpiece. I think that's nonsense.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we're on the same page.
But I think he's a fantastic director, and I think every single movie he's ever been involved with where he does the writing, I think the writing is almost universally some of the best stuff that's ever been out there, period.
Okay, so you're cool doing it. You're okay. You have full veto power here.
No, we're good. I'll watch it.
If this helps at all, I think it might be my favorite movie of his.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
See, now I'm piqued.
Well, we'll find out if that's true by the end of the show.
I admit, but it's going to be very difficult to top Jackie Brown. I saw Jackie
Brown okay. We can also have a Quentin Tarantino discussion next week, I think, too, is part of the reason I want to do it, because we've never done one of his movies, and yeah, I might also make up maybe the 2 biggest holes in my viewing of his work with Kill Bill 1 and 2. So.
Oh yeah, those are so
tentative.
Fun. I love those flicks. Both of them are super fun. Okay. I am actually in the minority where I think the first one is the better one, but a lot of people really love part 2, and it's super great.
Okay, so maybe a little bit of that next week too. Who knows? We'll see. Cool. At the very least, we'll have our Tarantino discussion.
Tarantini.
So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for next week. Do you have any other movies you want to talk about for the rest of the show?
I could give you a couple if you like.
Give them to me.
I don't remember if I've talked about these. I don't think so. Did I talk to you about The Biggest Little Farm?
Never heard of it.
Documentary. And
Matt Damon in it?
I asked my wife so many times during the movie, hey, when does Matt Damon show up? No, The Biggest Little Farm, super, super wonderful documentary. I cannot recommend this enough. It's about a couple who, there is a bit of, you have to get into this and know that, okay, so a couple decides we're going to buy a farm that's just dead land and we're going to rebuild it all up from the ground up and make this wonderful like where we can farm. We have our own animals, and we've got, an orchard, like a huge farm that was going to be done by these two people.
Did this get Oscar nominated?
I think so. Yeah, I think it did.
Okay. I think maybe I've heard of it.
The one thing you have to kind of remember at the beginning, and it's one of those things where when I went into it, I kind of thought this was a ground up situation, and it is, but there's also the moment of the reason the documentary is getting made is because my husband is a professional cinematographer.
Oh.
Okay, so you get past that, which is why the movie looks amazing, and it does, looks fantastic.
I actually thought this took place in like a third world country.
No. This actually takes place in California. It's like down the road from you. But it's super interesting that these people decide we're going to drop everything we have and we are going to build a farm on this dead land. And it's all about how difficult that is and what like it totally has the successes and the failures. And there's some sad stuff in there because you do see animals get killed, that you see them having to deal with that. But you also see the successes, and you see all of the like the trials and tribulations of, okay, we finally got this part of the orchard healthy and good, but now this part is dead. And so we got to try and figure that out while and it's really fascinating. It was a really beautiful movie. And it totally is one of those like for me, it was one of those movies that made me want to go, I'm going to plant some stuff this year. And I mean, we always do, but it's, it was cool. Great movie.
So you planted chickens, though.
We are planting them. The chickens should be growing soon. Yeah.
So really complicated question that this quick end of the show segment stuff doesn't deserve, and I probably shouldn't get into. But with my work, so I took a full-time job, but I kept one of my freelance clients, which happens to be a huge ag lender. So part of what I do, in fact, today I drive down to film at their offices. I guess I'm not doing a farm this week, but I do a lot of videoing out at farms, like actual farms. Mm-hmm. So do you think this movie would be something that some of these real farmers would see and enjoy, or something that they would watch and be like, look at these freaking hippies? Like, of course.
See, that's tough.
Does it at least champion or draw attention to some of the work that these guys are doing on a daily basis? Or is it completely from the point of view of somebody who's like, I'm going to go start a farm? Like,
I think it is definitely more along the lines of championing how hard it is to get a farm up and running. It is a short movie though. So like the depth in that is probably not like something they would go crazy for, but I think it's a good flick. I mean, I'd say watch it with your kids. It's a great story about how a farm is built, and this particular farm, it's like I said, it's in California. They ended up with all of this land. They end up having, orchards, and they've got pigs and horses and stuff. And it's super interesting to see how it turns out at the end. Okay. And there's actually this one, there's an amazing bit at the beginning with one of these quote unquote characters, this person that comes into their life to help them figure out how to get the farm going, to how to even start. And it's one of those things where you're like, they are going to get fleeced by this guy so badly.
Oh, really?
It's amazing. It's so great and terrifying and like heartbreaking. Okay. But
so regardless, it's got the movie making chops and
definitely
moments behind it to make it a fun watch no matter
it what. Is. I thought it was a really fun watch that had a lot of like, it's a good documentary on these people. And I mean, of course it's, it's a little, it's polished. Like I said, the guy's a cinematographer, so
good.
Yeah,
that would, if it sucked, that would be like he would no longer get work. I would imagine. I made my own movie with camera.
Yeah, it would probably be that. Did I talk to you about John Wick the Third?
You did not. Do so.
Yeah, finally.
I mean, I talked to you about it after one of the shows, but no. This is your time to respond. Rebut.
we finally sat down to watch it, and it was highly entertaining. Right. I don't know. It was fun, man. There's that whole bit in the short corridor with the knives flying back and forth. That was just really cool.
So it sounds to me like you're on board with my assessment that it's also, given the ending, a victory lap before the race was won type thing.
Sure.
Is that did you catch that feeling?
Oh yeah. It's like
Okay.
I'm my hope is, and I know it won't come out this way, but I love a good siege movie, and I would love for John Wick 4 to be a general siege movie with them being stuck in the room and then having to deal with that. That'd be pretty great.
That's a decent pitch. I kind of love that, actually.
It's like
the Raid, basically.
Yeah.
John Wick, the Raid.
Yeah. Or I mean, also put in the give me the assault on Precinct 13 action.
Also,
yeah.
Sure.
No, it's fun, man. I like that, and I loved the ending, and I appreciated I actually loved the incredibly campy bit about, oh, you want to meet the person that's super in charge, walk into the desert, they'll find you. I loved the campiness of, we're going to find him in the desert, he's going to have a coin, and we're going to have a guy in a, like, he's being treated like an Arabian Nights character. And, do you wish to fulfill your duty, John Wick? Then you are back. Like, okay, that's it. That's all. All right.
It kind of makes it all makes sense in that way that it does seem like they're stretching things out. Again, it's I mean, when I say victory lap, not that it's spinning its wheels, but honestly, it's like they made 3 movies into 4 type thing, essentially.
Oh, sure.
They take a long time with the lore.
It's the Hobbit situation.
Yes. So. But it's John Wick, so in the end, you're like, oh, okay. If you want to make an entire movie out of these moments, that's fine.
Yeah, I admit
that was a good moment.
I think they've got one more good one in them. After that, it's going to be a hard sell for me to want to go, because it's like,
I hope they don't.
Yeah, it's just, I did like, somebody did come up with a concept here, and it works, and I kind of love it, that the movies are following through on the 5 stages of grief.
Oh, I mean, after Groundhog Day, everybody does that for like every movie, but sure.
Yeah, but this one actually makes sense if you kind of think about the order of the movies. It's the death of his wife and his dog, so he's going through the grief, and then the anger of the second one is him going absolutely insane. I'm going to kill everybody, and now he's got the bargaining part. So if you get 2 more. It's, I don't know. It could be interesting.
No, I hope that's a conscious decision, because that would be something that gives structure that could get structureless if they're not careful.
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah.
Last movie I've got, I actually texted you the other night. I rewatched the documentary Beyond the Mat. It's on Netflix right now.
Yeah. I haven't watched that.
The movie is just so heartbreaking. Just every moment of that movie, for every like positive thing in that movie, it's basically going, yeah, by the way, for all these things that you love, these people are in hell.
Is it as high energy as the trailer makes it seem?
It is.
Because I showed that trailer to my wife, and she was like, oh, you can watch that by yourself whenever you want.
Yeah, it is not high energy. It's like, I mean,
okay.
You are
bad trailer then.
It's a bad trailer. It
makes it seem like a pay-per-view episode.
No. This is your documentary. That's a true documentary where the thing was to not glorify. It's really more of a lot of the backroom scenes, and the bits with Mick Foley are the ones that I think people remember the most. And there are just moments with him that are heartbreaking. Same thing with Jake Roberts. It's like he the whole thing is his whole section of the movie. It's kind of broken up into 3 sections. Jake Roberts' section is just, same thing. Guy goes from being a, huge WWF star, gets involved with drugs and alcohol. And when you see him in the movie, and like, they do film them during the events. There are a couple of things of it. But you just see him, and he is just not even a shadow of his former self. Like it's awful. And the movie does a really good job of keeping it neutral.
Oh, good.
It's a surprisingly well done, fairly neutral documentary, and really
Who
more
did
of
it? Actually,
I actually don't know.
Anybody?
It was,
Okay, all right.
documentarians are not the people that I follow. I don't really think about it, honestly.
True. You don't really. There are very few that you know. If it's not Ken Burns or something,
It's like Warren Miller, and that's it.
I don't even know that guy.
Yeah, he's a documentarian, and like all he does is stuff about snowboarding and skiing and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a lot of
Okay.
yeah. It essentially Brian Blaustein. It essentially it's basically about Terry Funk, Mick Foley, and Jake Roberts. There's some other stuff in there. Other wrestlers come in. You get some more background on what kind of a guy Vince at least portrays himself to be in front of cameras.
Sure.
In
fact, how much of a balance do they strike with that stuff between the work?
Oh,
and,
they don't. With things like the McMahon stuff, it's not about that. It's they're filming it as it is, and there's they do the interviews as they are, but there's not a lot of but Vince was lying. It's not.
Is anybody breaking? I'm gonna get this wrong.
Kayfabe?
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of the wrestlers talk about. I mean, Mick Foley straight up talks about one of the worst things that he'd ever had to deal with, and his daughter and his wife were there, and you get this very real, moment of like, I'm okay, Daddy's okay, and it's not.
Okay, all right. Now I gotta watch the thing.
It's really good.
Okay.
That is all.
Man. You brought all the highbrow stuff to the table this week around.
I mean, I didn't talk about any of my lowbrow stuff because there was plenty of it.
I've got you covered.
All right. Hit me with more about Naked Gun 2.5.
Oh, the most highbrow.
Yeah. I did just watch that like 2 weeks ago, though.
That's a fantastic film. No, I've got a handful of comic book movies.
Well,
not that they can't be highbrow.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
In fact, some of these, so I actually didn't get to watch a bunch of movies outside of following this week. So I'm pulling a little from my backlog list here that we had for that catch-up show.
Yeah.
That cartoon, Death and Return of Superman.
Yeah.
Animated feature.
Yeah.
Eh.
They have not been doing a great job lately, man. They just took a dump.
It's not bad. In fact, I'll tell you what they do a good job of. They do a good job of taking that storyline, which is a popular storyline, even, despite the things surrounding it and the eventual wrap up, like Superman never died type thing. They do a good job of taking that story, compressing it into it's still an over 2 hour, in fact 2.5 hour maybe film, because it's dealing with a lot of story. And they do a good job of repackaging it, I will say, of adapting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not the most compelling thing. It's still kind of functional at the end of the day. So you like that story, you like that stuff, you'll get through it like I did. The worst thing I can say about it is that it has just the worst death of the Justice League. They're just all in one spot, and they I believe it's a huge rock wherein the underside is a portal to the Phantom Zone, falls on them while they're standing all in the same place.
Yeah, that's how it works.
If they don't pretty it up, they don't justify it. It's just bad and stupid and lazy, and a huge part of the film because they need them out of the way so that Doomsday can kill Superman, I guess, or something. But, it's there. You can watch it. Your daughter will like it with you.
I will not watch that movie.
The one I'm actually surprisingly more interested in talking about is a movie that's somehow grown on me over time and seems to get better with repeated viewings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Ghost Rider.
The Nick Cage one?
Yeah.
Super enjoyable, man. I don't care anything. Give me Peter Fonda looking ridiculous. Give me that 3 minutes of Sam Elliott.
Right?
Yeah. No, I mean,
I've forgotten that movie begins and I guess technically ends with Sam Elliott being the Western Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Right?
Awesome. So
it's
cool.
amazing. That was maybe I wanted to see that movie instead. As much as this even has grown on me.
I still want to see it. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. I'm aware it's a bad movie and why. I just think when I watched it initially, I did not have a lot of fun with it for a lot of reasons.
I love it.
And this is maybe still only the third time I've seen it, but for some reason third time's the charm, I guess. It clicked, and I'll say something that was good then and now are the effects. Like they nailed the character and just the CGI. Like
the fire,
amazingly good.
The fire for him was actually shockingly good. Even now, it still looks
really
pretty
good.
Dang good.
It does. It holds up, which is weird.
But I do love that sequence right at the beginning when he kind of first becomes Ghost Rider, and there's the comedy with it where the girl's like standing there and she's like wigging out, but he gives the guy the penance stare. Like that was super cool to see.
I'm into
that
it.
happen.
It's
on
weird
screen.
how much I'm into some of that stuff. I think kind of disappointingly, Eva Mendes.
Yeah,
is just the worst in this thing. I mean, nobody's turning in their best, maybe purposefully, but she appears to not even. She's a good actress, don't get me wrong, or actor. I'm sorry.
I don't think she got a script.
Maybe, but yeah. Otherwise, like, really enjoyed it somehow. So, there's that. Not even the last ones I wanted to talk about, but heavily related to the last one I want to talk about. I wanted to mention because I know you watched them recently too, but the Keaton Batman films, Batman and Batman Returns.
Yeah, so good.
Were you going to bring these up later? I don't want to step on.
No, I kind of,
Okay.
they've been, it's like 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
But love them.
One thing you said probably that got me to rewatch it when you watched them was that Nicholson is the best Joker.
Yeah, I still think.
And I
Fight me.
needed to watch it to know because I was like, shoot, like obviously Heath Ledger, even Jared Leto, who's the best, right?
Cesar Romero.
And a Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, that's, I guess, maybe why we're like, because you would say Jack Nicholson better than even Joaquin Phoenix, the guy that won that we recently talked about. And
well, yeah, because Jack Nicholson is the Joker from, like, he's the Joker. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker, but Jack Nicholson was like, I read that Joker. That Joker is the cartoon comic book Joker for me.
I'm glad I recently learned the term tautological because it's gives me a whole new view on the world.
I am extremely so.
Speaking of which, we did have a comment that I wanted to bring back from Jonathan Blade, and it is in reference to what we did talk about with Joker. And he was kind enough to point out that they, quote, announced a Joker sequel as soon as the first made big money. Capitalism corrupts even the purest motivations. FYI, he says he was in the it's fine camp.
So no shock on the sequel thing. However, the last thing I saw was that neither Todd Phillips nor Joaquin Phoenix have even discussed it. And Todd Phillips was not a big champion of wanting to do a sequel.
But yes, they've refuted, I think, the report or that they're going to be involved in any way, which goes along with what we were saying when we were talking about the thing. So I'm not surprised with either of those statements, but thank you for the comment. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Twitter, Facebook, bring it. Keep bringing it, everybody.
Bring it. Don't sing it. Bring it.
After seeing Keaton, the 1989 Batman, yeah, Nicholson's the best Joker. I have not seen the most recent Joker. I haven't seen Joaquin Phoenix, but I had forgotten how much Nicholson went all in on that thing. And Nicholson's not the guy, especially I guess maybe nowadays or in retrospect, that you would see or think of taking on that role.
He wasn't even the first choice.
Oh, really?
No. The first choice was, I want to say it was actually Defoe, and the studio said no.
Oh, dang.
That was like, there was a big deal with that where Nicholson was not the first choice. And now I've got to look it up.
Really want to see a Defoe Joker. No, but he gives everything to that role and it works 100%. And you're right. Like I would entertain the argument and I'm sure I could be swayed, but man, upon revisiting, you were not wrong. Like that is a fantastic performance in that movie from that guy of that character.
No, it's terrific. So I got it backwards. Nicholson was always the first choice, but he declined it. And then they hired Robin Williams.
Oh.
And then he decided, no, wait, I'll do it. And then they fired Robin Williams. Essentially.
I want to see Robin Williams in everything, like still now. But
I admit, the Willem Dafoe thing comes up just because he has the smile. But you ever see the pictures of Jack getting the makeup put on? like, yes, obviously they accentuated the face, but that's what he looks like,
but
man.
not much, right? Yeah. No, he doesn't have any of that on when he's just Jack at the beginning of the film, right?
No, and I love you know what I love about that character is that he really did knock out the fun and some of the crazy. Like, he got the crazy on the level that I feel like the Joker generally kind of has, whereas I think the newer Joker in a lot of ways, I think the Ledger Joker fed into that, because there are definitely Jokers similar to the Leto Joker, but I think further as we've gone from that movie, like, a lot of the comics pick up, they're doing that type of thing with him. But I always liked Nicholson's take on it, man. The costume changes, the lunacy with Bob and his idiot people. I love that they straight up went right off the bat. They're like, Joker gas, Joker stuff, like, do it all. Loved it. That was so great.
Hand buzzer.
You know?
Yeah, no. The best way I can put it, like, Ledger obviously made the Joker real, and I do love that performance, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
And from what I've seen of Joaquin Phoenix stuff, looks great.
Also good.
But friggin' Nicholson made him an icon. Like, he knew he was an icon. And that movie is very concerned with iconography, obviously.
Definitely.
You know, Tim Burton himself is, but Nicholson knew it and nailed it. So, yeah, no disagreement here.
Agreed.
I only want to mention Batman Returns quickly because the last time I saw it, I thought, oh, this is the better movie. And this time, I think what I saw was that it's the better looking movie.
Definitely.
Sure. It's got a bigger budget. The thing is beautiful. And Penguin looks gorgeous. I love Catwoman, whatever. Everything. It looks really, really good. It looks bigger budget. But
Christopher Walken's hair, how much did that cost?
That's almost out of place. It's so
Walken-y. So funny seeing him with the huge. It's not even small. It's a huge pile of white hair.
Every time I see it too, I'm like, oh, I had forgotten. That's that.
It's so weird. It's like, it is the most. He's got a literal giant white snow globe on his head.
It's very big. But upon kind of deeper reflection, like actually getting into that, it's still a ton of fun, and you know, it's close to what the first movie was still, I would say, but it seems a lot less character rich than the first one was. Yeah. Like, Kim Basinger is there's problems, but she's a person in her relationship with Bruce. Bruce is even more of a person.
There's a problem. She's a person. That right there tosses her into the bottom of the garbage can.
No. Those two statements ran together in a way that was not favorable. There are problems with her character, but she is one. Batman Returns, for a movie that has more characters in it that are enjoyable, it just seems a lot more surface level than the first movie was. First movie makes more. I think it's because they were willing to go all the way. Like, there's a conversation between. It's when Basinger walks in on Bruce in the Batcave, and Alfred brings her in, and he doesn't know she's coming, right? And they have this conversation that I'm so glad is there, because it speaks to them taking that entire situation and movie seriously in a way that they needed to do to make it work. But it is so ridiculous. Like, it's got all of the lines like, I do this because I have to, and do you have to? And I can't even remember, but go watch that scene, like, especially out of context, and you'll get it. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. But I think I'm back on that. That's the better overall package than Batman Returns. So
I know, I agree. I like Batman Returns. It's silly, but
it's still great.
But that's the thing, is like in terms of the two, it's sillier by a pretty large margin. But it's always nice. It's always nice to see Paul Rubens pop up. Penguin's dad. He tossed the little baby penguin into the water.
Was that, dude? I thought that looked like him.
Yeah.
But I was like, no. So it's something else that messed me up was that I watched a movie with Paul Rubens in it, the one I wanted to end on, and I wanted to speak of after Batman, because I didn't realize how much it borrowed from those two movies. But I watched Mystery Men too.
Yeah.
Also, basically because you did, and reminded me of it.
So here's your fun fact. So that was, if I remember correctly, his first movie. Anything on screen.
After
the situation, the occurrence,
the situation.
But then
the
also, they actually decided to reuse him as the father in Gotham of Oswald.
Oh, no joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
He plays daddy.
Okay. Smart. I'm glad that they've. I don't know if that's stunt casting like we talked about, but obviously Supergirl has done that with Dean Cain. Flash has done that with John Wesley Shipp.
He was in multiple episodes. It wasn't just a one-shot thing. He was in multiple episodes.
Well, so were those other guys. But
well, there we go.
I'm glad. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Mystery Men, I did not realize took so much from those freaking Batman films. Like, I didn't realize that was so like it looks like Gotham City, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's basically super obvious.
Yeah, it's a little like slightly more futuristic.
Yeah, which is fine, and I still think it looks really good. I had just forgotten how much it existed in a post Batman world.
What kind of motorcycle you have? It's a Harley compatible. It's Harley compatible.
You also bring up a good point in that movie is endlessly quotable. I didn't find myself as attached, and this is a stupid thing to say about Mystery Men, but I wanted to be completely on board like I didn't remember being the first time, but honestly, it's more quotable than it is watchable, almost. I mean that in the nicest way, and obviously it's Mystery Men. But, yeah.
Yeah, you might want to end right there.
Before this gets too heated.
This conversation could get violent.
I can't end without mentioning William H. Macy. I think he got all of the best lines, and it's because they're...
I shovel, and I shovel well.
I shovel well. I was given a gift.
It's
just the best. Yeah, it's the best. Janine Garofalo is kind of confusing because she has actual superpowers, even though obviously they're not, it's her supernatural dead dad and a bowling ball.
What about Dane Cook as the Waffler?
Yeah, and that was the other thing I wanted to mention.
Waffle Man!
All sorts of weird cameos, and weird cameos that cemented my own superpower. Do you want to know what it is?
Being able to pick out who these randoms were that are always in makeup, like Doug Jones.
Just one. Gosh dang it, you named him. Yeah. I have...
Pencil Man!
I have the innate ability to recognize Doug Jones wherever I see him. Like, we're watching Discovery. He's on there. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's... I say Shape of Water because I'm educated, but Abe Sapien.
I was going to say...
I'm pretty sure that's Abe Sapien.
Same character.
And it always is. And he was Pencil Man in this thing. So, Mystery Men, Oscar nominated, the best movie that's ever been made, et cetera, et cetera.
I love some of the cameos in that. You get Eddie Izzard is in there. Michael Bay.
Oh, he's in that. Almost not even a cameo. Yeah, Michael Bay is a frat boy in that thing.
Michael Bay is the frat boy. The CeeLo Green and the Goody Mob. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
So is that it? Are you
That's
done?
it. That's it.
Okay.
I'll stop.
I want to hit one more thing really fast. I only have two
please.
things to say about it.
We've got plenty of time.
Okay. I watched the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. So that whatever it's called, and then Out of the Shadows.
You sure did. You want me to just post the text?
Go! Oh no! If you've got them, please do. Please do, because what the hell? The first movie, I walked away going, how did I enjoy that? Why did I like this movie?
Oh, so you did. That was actually, I mean, yeah, we could do more time on this.
It was terrible, but I walked away going, I somehow liked that more than I thought I would. The sequel, that was like, there was toilet paper covered in horse poo. There was at no point did that movie step out of the shadows. It should have stayed in the shadows.
Subtitle of the film. Yeah, no, it's good.
Keep it in the shadows. In fact, don't let any light in let all the light in so that the film is damaged.
I enjoyed it about as much as the first one, so I don't know.
I like Stephen Amell, but he's not good. He wasn't great in Arrow, but it was like, okay, I get it. You're stiff, whiny Oliver Queen.
He nailed that emotion. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, God, that was so bad. And then, I mean, the best part being Krang out of I don't know what.
I love, again, there are a few things that redeem that movie into absolute garbage. It's that they seem to reference the original cartoon for some reason more than they should.
100 times
Will
over.
Arnett is Vern, and Krang, Rocksteady and Bebop.
Yeah,
obviously.
and by the way, let me mention here Rocksteady and Bebop. I don't know if you recognize the guy who plays Rocksteady. Probably not, because you haven't quite been into wrestling for as long as I have. But as soon as that guy showed up and all I could see was his big flat top of red hair, I was like, oh, it's Sheamus. Sure enough. Go Google.
I know Sheamus now, yeah, but I did not.
That's Sheamus. Yeah.
Really, is it? Oh, huh.
Really weird. Super bizarre. That movie was absolute trash.
Yeah.
That was not a good movie.
Well, I'm glad we got those out of the way. We could have done a whole show on them, and you just.
No, if you've got the text messages and you want to post them, feel free. Might be more entertaining than the movie.
And you would find those on our Twitter and our Facebook. It's Book Club for Movies, also .com. There's an actual website, zerohitpoints.com, still under that banner for the time being. You can find the show now on all of those places I said you could. We're on, in fact, places I don't even know what they are. Deezer, which seems...
Whoa.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Spotify, still on Stitcher, iTunes. We are everywhere, and that's where you can find us. Podcast at bookclubformovies.com. If you want to send anything there as well, we'll bring it into the show. Comment on what we talked about this week. Comment on what we're going to talk about next week. It's going to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
And that right there is available for purchasing and streaming on rental services. It is not for free anywhere.
Yes, relatively new, so not for free, quote unquote, anywhere. We will see you next week.
Bye!